All right. What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and this is essentially Ron Stewart after dark here. I have dug myself into a pretty deep hole here. I was supposed to get a mock draft out to you guys. The goal was to write it down, get it all done, record it, have it up by midnight because the submission deadline for the accuracy contest is midnight Central Time, which is going to be happening in 20 minutes. It took me way too long. I've been absolutely grinding out here to get the most perfect mock draft possible, but I don't write for a website. I only write for YouTube. So that means that the mock draft has to be posted on YouTube by the deadline, which is what we're doing right now. So you can see the vibes are a little bit different. I got I didn't put all the lights on. It's Ron Stewart after dark. We might even do some ASMR. We're going to be in here. I'm going to go through every single one of my picks live, unveil them slowly for you guys, talk through my thoughts. How are we? We're going to be interacting with the chat tonight as well, man. It is scary hours. We got Peanut Butter and Waivers in here. We got Dominic 05058 in here. And if you are in here at damn near midnight, in the stream, chilling with the boy, my heart goes out to you. Whatever happens tonight stays in this stream. You guys will be regarded as some of the highest tiered members in this community for just being here and watching me do this for the next hour. How are we doing, though? I do want to interact with chat a little bit before we get into the draft itself. How is everybody feeling about the mock drafts? Feeling about the NFL draft tomorrow? This is my favorite time. I wouldn't be doing this right now. I got nothing to sell to you guys. I get $0 for winning the accuracy contest. I do this all for the love of the game. I have been obsessed with the NFL draft ever since I could remember. To be honest with you guys, of course, fantasy football is what gets us views, makes us money. I'm good at fantasy football, but really what, got me to buy in to football in general is, of course, I loved watching the Jets, but, we were so bad. Sweet. Okay. So I submitted it on through email to the guy who runs the accuracy contest. He just confirmed that he got it, so that's perfect. But what was I about to say? The Jets being bad in drafting and me just hoping that we could fix our team through the draft is kind of what made me just love the draft, be obsessed with it. I have watched the NFL draft. I've probably watched every single NFL draft since 2014. I've literally grew so I'm 21. I've grown up. I remember there were times where I would write out what I thought would happen, mock drafts, either, on these simulators or even by hand early on. So just being able to submit something to an accuracy contest like this, give you guys a mock draft, is really, really cool, man. This is, what I've been doing my whole life. Something that I would do for free. I'm doing it for free. But how are we? Going crazy for the draft. It's waiting on the plug. I feel it. Please don't say Bijan to the Pats or Eagles. You're about to see what happens. Philly trade up to number 3 and take Jalen Carter. That could happen. Anticipating a trade back for my Pats, and I'm not looking forward to it. Go to bed. I can't. I have to get this guy. I have to get this out. We got Brian Wilkinson in here, elite Discord member. So let's take ourselves to the PFF mock draft simulator. I'm actually surprised how many people we got in here. We got 27 people in here. How are we doing? How are we? You guys should all be asleep. All right. So let's go here. Sure. Now, we're out here with the mindset. We want to come. Let's actually start the draft so that, I think that this probably is a fine view. Maybe we'll go even a little bit closer here. Boom. But just look, eyes on the prize. Look, we might be the only three-way tie champion on here, but this is what we're going for the repeat of. So all of you guys out there saying, Ron, what do you know? You're an idiot. We had the most accurate mock draft last year. I posted it on this channel, same exact way, everything. So we're going to come out here, coming for that crown. We're coming for Josh Norris's crown, 59 points that he got the year before. My 48 last year was one of the lower ones, but this is what we're doing. We're trying to submit it to this contest. The contest, by the way, how it's scored is I believe you get 2 points for matching a player with a team. You get 1 point if the player you have in the first round gets drafted in the first round, and that's it. So that's kind of the parameters we're going to be drafting with here, or just kind of the goals of what we're drafting here. Now, I as much time as I would have liked to fully, like you guys know, I go crazy with outlines, but I just didn't even have enough time. So without further ado, the Panthers are on the clock. Feel free to, roast me as these picks go on. Let's go Bryce Young. First overall to the Panthers. At this point, he's minus 2,000 to go first overall. There's really no reason to talk about it. The owner is like S2 oriented. He loves the S2. Bryce Young is apparently a football savant. This is the guy that it seems like is going to go first overall. Now, second overall is kind of where it's tough. We're assuming the Texans aren't high on C.J. Stroud. At this point with the Texans, C.J. Stroud, it seems like, so pretty much the dots I'm connecting is the 49ers offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, comes from the 49ers, who apparently absolutely love the S2 test, which is why they took Brock Purdy and why they believe in Brock Purdy. C.J. Stroud didn't do well in the S2 test. It doesn't seem like the Texans are super motivated to take a quarterback. You also have, of course, Bobby Slowick, and you have DeMeco Ryans, both San Francisco 49ers guys. Both guys who, over the last 5 years with the 49ers, have won games in spite of their quarterback. They might not think that, okay, number 2 has to be quarterback. There's not a ton of pressure here. And while Tyree Wilson has kind of been the guy all along, I really do think that this is Will Anderson. You just, like, Nick Caserio, Texans GM, is known for drafting Alabama players. He drafted John Mechie last year in the second round. And DeMeco Ryans, as a defensive player from Alabama, I have to believe that he has a massive amount of respect for Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson, I heard a stat today that he was like the first linebacker ever to start as a freshman at Alabama. Nick Saban talks about him in this crazy, crazy light. To me, he's a blue chipper in the same breath as Bosa, Chase Young, all of those guys. I have to believe as a defensive guy, DeMeco Ryans, former Alabama player, has a nose for what that talent is. Now, after that, we have number 3, and this is where it gets interesting. Now, we're kind of cheating the system a little bit here. I'm not going to have any trades in this. I think when you put trades in for these accuracy contests, I didn't have any trades last year. I think you outsmart yourself a little bit. Now, of course, it could come back and burn me. So we're kind of galaxy braining this. If you remember, I said you get 2 points for matching a player with a team. So I think a team trades up with the Cardinals. I just don't know which one. So we're going to reach a little bit with the Cardinals here and take a player that I think that they could probably take somewhere in this like 5 through 8 area, you could call it, if a team wants to trade up in front of the Colts and take their quarterback of the future. But we're going to go with Christian Gonzalez. And I know this is like a weird off-the-wall pick, but this is my thoughts here. The Cardinals have a lot of money tied up in offensive tackle. I think Kelvin Beachum, or no, it's DJ Humphries, but those are the 2 tackles they have. And they have like $20 million wrapped up, and I believe DJ Humphries on the left-hand side. They could go Paris Johnson. There's a lot of noise for Paris Johnson, and I don't hate that. But the issue that I have with it is Kyler Murray isn't even going to play this year, and their defense is awful. Their corners are awful. Everything about their defense is awful. They bring the Eagles head coach, or the Eagles defensive coordinator, over. He's going to want to play defense, or at least build the defense, especially in this year when it's kind of a rebuilding year. Kyler's not really even going to play meaningful games. I have to imagine he wants to lay down a foundation. Gonzalez is more of a zone corner versus Devin Witherspoon being a man corner. The Eagles last year ran a ton of zone. You get Christian Gonzalez, who's going to be 20 years old, I believe, in week 1 of the NFL draft, and a team like the Cardinals, who obviously aren't going to win anything in 2023, I feel like they'll side with the younger cornerback prospect here, the one that fits their scheme a little bit better and can kind of develop as they get towards their championship window. So this could blow back in my face, but I know a lot of guys have Paris Johnson to the Cardinals. I know a lot of guys have Christian Gonzalez as CB2 off the board, but that's the way we're going to go here. So at the 4 spot, this is where it gets tough. It gets really tough at the 4 spot because the Colts are going to have their pick of whatever quarterback they want. Now, I do think that they could trade up to 3. I think they could trade up to 3 and, sort of the Mitch Trubisky deal and take who they want. But my guess here is Will Levis is there. Of course, there's been rumors that they like Will Levis. Levis did decent on the S2 test. He's a Manning Academy guy. Of course, Peyton Manning has a ton of pull there. You have Anthony Richardson as well, like Shane Steichen, right, from the Eagles. He had a bunch of success with Jalen Hurts. Why not replicate that? But kind of my thoughts here are the Colts are probably done losing, and they probably want a quarterback that can come in and play right away. Like, why would Shane Steichen take on another Jalen Hurts? Like, Jalen Hurts, of course, he was great, but he took a year or two to actually develop into, his full upside that he has now, why would you want to take on all of that? It's your first head coaching gig. Why would you want to take a swing for the fences like that when you could just have CJ Stroud, super, super accurate, as well as Shane Steichen? Yes, he had success with the Eagles, but he also was the offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert's Offensive Rookie of the Year campaign. He was also like the offensive coordinator / quarterback coach during Phillip Rivers' years on the Chargers when he was pretty damn good in like the late 2010s. So he's had success with quarterbacks of all natures and archetypes. So I'm going to go Stroud here. I know that people have him slipping, and I could see him going 8 to the Falcons. I could see him slipping to 11 to the Titans, but I'm going to go Stroud here. It feels a little bit against the grain, but let's go Stroud here. Then at 5, things get a little bit weird because I think everybody is shooing in Jalen Carter. A lot of these, again, like I'm almost attacking these. If any of you guys watched my March Madness video, like kind of going against the grain and sort of leveraging the field, right? And I think a lot of the people that are in this accuracy contest are going to have Jalen Carter to the Seahawks. I don't mind it. I think it could happen. He's probably a good scheme fit there, but Pete Carroll's a big culture guy. Of course, he's brung in guys with red flags before. I think Bruce Irvin was a little bit like that. Malik McDowell very recently in the second round. He never even played a snap for the Seahawks, and that went terribly wrong. Now, you could sit here and say, well, the Seahawks have a ton of picks. Why not swing on a character concern guy? And I think that they could for sure. But Tyree Wilson slips here a little bit. I know that he's had buzz for 2. I know he's had buzz for 3. But Tyree Wilson's going to go here at number 5. He has a little bit of a concern in terms of, I think he has like a foot injury maybe. Where the hell is Tyree Wilson, dude? Am I an idiot? Oh, he's just like way far down. Oh, yeah, 28th on PFF's board. But yeah, we're going to go Tyree Wilson here. He fits the defensive line need that the Seahawks have. And I think as well, the Seahawks have a little bit of a history of drafting Big 12 players. Bruce Irvin was a Big 12 player. L.J. Collier was a Big 12 player. Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech was a Big 12 player. For whatever reason, they have a little pipeline in the Big 12. Just small connecting the dots here. Are you doing any trades, Ron? No. I'm not going to do any trades. I was debating it, maybe have somebody come in and take Hooker or something, but I stayed away. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but with these accuracy contests, you're threading a needle with trades. I'd rather just kind of let everything be. It's so hard to predict, 2 teams, this exact trade. If 2 teams trade, and like I got Olave, I had Olave to the Saints at the 16th spot last year. They traded up to 12 to get him. I still got my 2 points anyway. So it's really not in your best interest to make trades unless if it is like somebody coming in the back end of the first to grab, a sliding Hendon Hooker. But I decided to stay away from that this time around. Now, our next pick here. Let's actually make sure that you guys can see sort of the top 5 here. I'll make sure that you can kind of see things. Wow, we got 58 people in here. Everybody in here, leave a like. This is Ron Stewart After Dark here. I only have one of the lights on. It's like midnight. I appreciate all of you guys out here coming in here and saying what's up and watching the video. That's actually really cool of you guys. I thought, honest to God, I was expecting 10 to 15 people in here. So this is a huge win. Like the video. Maybe we can get the algorithm to sort of juice things up a little bit here. But now we have a pressure point. We have the Detroit Lions. And I think that you could say Devin Witherspoon, of course, right? They get rid of Jeff Okudah. They need a corner really bad. They play a bunch of man coverage. Devin Witherspoon makes a ton of sense. But it's really tough because they could do that. They could take Jalen Carter. Maybe Dan Campbell believes, in his ability to just like foster a culture and stuff. But let's do something a little bit different here. This is a coaching staff that has no allegiance to Jared Goff. Jared Goff has approached the Lions for a contract extension. They haven't listened to him. Jared Goff is a guy who could get cut literally in 2024, and the Lions wouldn't have to pay him too much. Like they could save a ton of money by getting out of this Jared Goff deal. This Lions roster is really good. It's a pick that wasn't even theirs. I got this pick from the Rams in that Jared Goff deal. Why not backload in a quarterback behind Goff? This is a pick, again, you got for taking on the Goff contract. And I think as well, something that Norris has been linking with the Lions is Dorsey, the same guy who drafted Mahomes to sit behind Alex Smith, is now in the Lions front office. So I think it makes a ton of sense. You have to believe, why not swing on a crazy high upside quarterback? This is a Lions GM here that has been here like the last 2 or 3 years that has targeted really high relative athletic score players and has been kind of a premium position hound. He is not Moneyball, but Moneyball-ish, where if he's going to take a pick at 6, I think it makes a ton of sense to take a swing on Anthony Richardson. You also have Ben Johnson, the OC, who's kind of a little bit of a guru. Why not take a swing on Richardson, a guy who can develop and be your quarterback of the future. So we're going to take Richardson here at 6 overall. Boom. How are we? How do we feel about that? Now, that's us through 6 picks. Now at the 7 spot, this one's pretty easily. So, I mean, like, maybe you could say the Raiders take Will Levis. I think the only quarterback the Raiders would be live to take is C.J. Stroud if he falls to this point. It's tough for me. Like, Josh McDaniels, like, I know that he's only been there for a year, but it's like, man, it feels like his back's up against the wall a little bit. I don't think that he has the slack on his leash, if you want to call it that, to go out and draft a project quarterback to develop behind Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he kind of has to come out here and win. And their cornerbacks are awful. They play in a division with Justin Herbert, and they play in a division with Patrick Mahomes. You have to defend the pass. They have Max Crosby up front, so I don't think that they would want to take Jalen Carter, especially with all of these character concern guys that they've drafted in the past. I want to say, who was it, like Damon Arnett and maybe the other kid out of Ohio State. But I'm going to have him go Devin Witherspoon here. Kind of chalky, but also a little bit against the grain, because Devin Witherspoon, I think, is a guy that you see a lot of the times go to the Lions. So we'll just have him sort of swap-swapped, go to the Raiders. Now, I don't think you guys are going to like this one, to be honest with you. I don't think you guys are going to like this. But this is a pick again. We're sort of galaxy braiding ourselves here for this accuracy contest. Again, all that matters, player to team, not player at pick. I think the Falcons end up with Bijan Robinson. That's who we're going to take here. Now, if I had to guess, I think if the draft unfolds this exact way, I think the Eagles leapfrog the Bears, go to 8, take Jalen Carter, Falcons sit at 10, take Bijan Robinson. But again, I don't want to make any trades because, again, like, you know what? Maybe maybe C.J. Stroud falls and the Titans want to come up to 8 and Bijan goes to 11 and, the Falcons still end up with Bijan. So let's go with Bijan. I think it makes a ton of sense. Like, again, this GM for the Falcons has not been premium position oriented. Again, they took Kyle Pitts, tight end. They've drafted. I'm trying to think of the other guys that they've drafted highly for this Falcons team, but they keep adding offensive pieces. I have to imagine that they're probably thinking to themselves, they really do believe in Desmond Ridder. He is on a round 3 contract. They can really, really be aggressive with filling his positions of, skill positions with really high level players, because if you can actually have a competent quarterback on that, like, I think he probably gets paid like $1 million a year. I don't know his actual deal, but a 3rd round rookie contract. People talk all the time about the craziness of playing with a rookie contract for a quarterback. That's assuming like top 10 pick. A guy on the 3rd round, Desmond Ridder, you have him for nothing. So I do think that they sort of run him up one time, 1 year, see what happens, and you let Arthur Smith, a guy who, got the best out of Derrick Henry, just scheme an offense around like almost like positionless football of like Bijan and Pitts and Drake London and all of these weapons. Why not let Arthur Smith kind of run wild here? Now, after this, we have the Bears. And Paris Johnson's a guy who's been rumored to go 3 overall. I think there's some teams that have a very high grade on Paris Johnson. I'm going to have him fall a little bit to the Bears. Maybe I think the Bears are even live to move up if one of these teams want to move down. Like, maybe I could truly see the Bears trading up with the Cardinals, taking Paris Johnson, and then the Cardinals sitting back and just taking Christian Gonzalez here. I think that that's on the table as well. So we're going to take Paris Johnson. I think at this point, their entire 2023 has to be, what do we have in Justin Fields? They went out and grabbed him a pass catcher in DJ Moore. They got him weapons. Now get him some protection. I think that he led the league in sacks, and if he didn't lead the league in sacks, it was like sack rate or anything among those lines. He was getting hit a ton. Now, after that pick, we have Jalen Carter. Now, do I think Jalen Carter falls all the way to 10? No, but I think if he starts to slide, I do think the Eagles call somebody up, make a move, come up for Jalen Carter. And I think that they also have the added caveat of, Jalen Carter has some off-the-field issues, but Jordan Davis, fellow interior defensive lineman out of Georgia, is apparently like kind of like a mentor for him. So I think if there was one spot where it would make sense, it would be to the Eagles. They just have a disgusting front 7 at that point. I think they would have like Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Like, it would just be a who's who of absolute monsters up here. Now, after that at 10, we have the Titans here. And I thought long and hard about taking Will Levis. I think Will Levis would make sense. Of course, they need a quarterback. But they have Tannehill. It's not the long-term option. I also thought long and hard about I think the Buccaneers could trade up here. I think the Vikings could trade up here to take a Will Levis. But I don't think anybody bites. I think that the Titans end up sitting here and making a pick. And I don't think as well, right? They have Ryan Tannehill, they have Derrick Henry, and like the reports have been that they're kind of on the block. They want them to get traded. I don't think there's a market for either, man. If there's not a market for Austin Eckler, there's not a market for Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill for like a $30 million cap hit, you might have to trade him away like a Brock Osweiler type deal. So I think that they're kind of locked into this offense for another year of Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, see what you can do. I think this pick, they're just going to go for high floor. They lost Ben Jones, their center. They lost Taylor Lewan. They need something up front. So I'm taking Peter Skoronski here, someone that could sneaky go higher than this 11 spot because he's seen as like a tackle, guard, tweener, super versatile type guy among the front. Now, at the 12 spot is where we'll finally have Will Levis go. We'll have Levis go. I have to assume, I truly do think if Bijan doesn't go to the Falcons, say the Falcons go Nolan Smith at 8, I think Bijan's the pick at the Texans. It's very weird, right? It's weird. Why would they do that? They have Dameon Pierce, but again, we've seen these day 3 running backs not have any allegiance from their front office. And then on top of that, they want a playmaker. That might be the guy that they have the highest grade on. They might think that, oh, we can trade back into the end of the first round and grab Hendon Hooker later. But we're going to go Will Levis here. Will Levis kind of falls into their lap. And again, we're kind of finessing a little bit with this accuracy contest because if Will Levis goes second overall, which has had some steam, or if Will Levis falls and the Texans trade back or they trade into the late teens or 20s to grab Levis, boom. We still get those 2 points. Will Levis ends up on the Texans, so we'll take him at 12 overall there. Now we have 13th overall. The Packers take my Jets pick, a nice little petty pick swap in that Aaron Rodgers deal. And I know that the stat is right. They haven't taken a wide receiver in the first round since 2002. And I completely and fully understand that. But at a certain point, like if you told me a coin flipped heads every single time once a year since 2002, I'd probably bet tails. It's probably due, So, and I especially think there's something there. There's bad blood there between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. The front office, at least. I think it would be the perfect spit in your face pick for the Packers to turn around and say, you know what, you left us. We're going to get our new quarterback, a nice little Ferrari for him to drive. We're going to park it in the driveway for him. They go out there, use the Jets pick to get their new franchise quarterback, the needed help that Aaron Rodgers has wanted this entire time. They go JSN. I know it doesn't make. I know that people don't want to put wide receiver to the Packers because they haven't done it in the past, but I think it would make so much sense, man. I think that it would be their last little, dagger in the side of Aaron Rodgers just to kind of be petty and get back at him. And they need it, right? They have Romeo Doubs, they have Christian Watson, and then nothing else. They could get a guy in the slot that could be really, really nice for them. After that, we have number 14, Patriots, and this is a wild card pick. I really couldn't. I really had a tough time with this pick because at 14, you have Nolan Smith is slipping here. Admittedly, I think Nolan Smith could go as early as 8, and I keep struggling to find a spot for him to go. They could go complete wild card here, right? They went Cole Strange last year. They could go a variety of directions. They could go Emmanuel Forbes here if they really like him. They could go Lucas Van Ness. I've seen him mocked there a bunch. But we're going to go a little bit weird here and go Darnell Wright. Their only consistent tackle last year was Trent Brown. I know they brought in Riley Reif, but he's 34 years old. They need a tackle for the future. I think that they like Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright kind of fits the build of one of these weirder offensive line prospects where he is kind of like a late riser. Most people probably have Broderick Jones over him, but it would just be a very Patriots, I don't care about consensus type pick. But again, if you want to give him a corner or you want to give him Nolan Smith, the only reason I didn't give him Nolan Smith is because I was looking at their stats from last year. Matthew Judon, and then on the other side they had Josh Uche, or Uche, however you want to say that, out of Michigan. I think he had like 10 plus sacks last year. So I don't know that's the pick. I saw somebody just comment it could be Zay Flowers, which maybe it could be Zay Flowers, but man, they just spent money on Juju and they spent money on Gesicki. Like, I don't know that first round they go Zay Flowers. I think they could. They could for sure, but I don't know that that's the pick. So we're going to end up with Darnell Wright, 14th overall to the Patriots. And I have to be honest with you guys. If this is how the draft falls and Nolan Smith, Lucas Van Ness, and Myles Murphy are all on the board, it wouldn't shock me if the Jets took edge. It wouldn't shock me. This is a team where Carl Lawson has a very cuttable contract. He wasn't great last year. John Franklin Myers, we don't know how long he's going to be there. And right now, all they really have in terms of pass rush is like Jermaine Johnson, who wasn't that great last year. They have interior edge rush, or interior pass rush, but they could always use an edge, the Jets. Like Michael Clemens and Bryce Huff are nice like rotational pieces, but they don't have a guy that can really get after the quarterback from the outside consistently. I think it'd be tough for them to pass up on these guys, but I do think Aaron Rodgers comes in. They want to make sure that they get him the right protection or the right weapons or whatever. I think if JSN was here, they would think long and hard about it. But because he's not, they're going to go Broderick Jones, which just has been the name linked to them this entire process. I'll be honest with you. I had them mocked Kayvon Thibodeau and Jameson Williams, I believe, last year. So Jets media, like Joe Douglas is so close-lipped about his draft process and the guys that he likes. He doesn't let any information out of his camp. So as a Jets fan, my guess is as good as yours, but Broderick Jones does seem to make a ton of sense. You could have him, Mekhi Becton on the outside. You have Vera Tucker. They just signed, I want to say, McGovern. So the offensive line kind of gets shored up there with the Broderick Jones pick. Now, after that, we have Washington. And Washington's a complete wild card as well. They're a team that doesn't really value high leverage positions. They're a team as well that I think that came out today that they didn't give him, and by him I mean Chase Young. They didn't give Chase Young his 5th year extension or 5th year option. So they could go Nolan Smith, they could go Myles Murphy, they could go one of the pass rushers for sure. They 100% could, just to get somebody behind Chase Young in case if they want to move off of him or like tag and trade him later. But I just don't see it. Like, their defensive line's so good. They have Sweat, Chase Young, the two guys out of Alabama. I don't know that they would do that. I think that they do something a little bit weird here. I do think that like Deonte Banks is live. I think some of these corners are live. I even think like interior offensive lineman is live too, like Osiris Torrance or something, or the kid out of Wisconsin. But we're going to go Dalton Kincaid here. First tight end off the board. My thoughts are Washington doesn't have a ton of glaring needs. They don't seem like they're in the market for a quarterback. They want to roll with Sam Howell. And I think sort of the way that I thought through this is if they don't have any pressing needs and their needs aren't really good picks in this draft, right? Like linebacker, there's not a first-round linebacker. There's not really a first-round like guard center, like at least not a 16th overall one. So I think they go Dalton Kincaid, and my thoughts are you bring in Eric Bieniemy, he wants to install his offense. They have nothing at tight end. Like you can say Logan Thomas, but this is a guy who has he had one Gary Barnidge season and tore his ACL. And I think Gary Barnidge's season is giving him a little bit too much credit there. But they go Dalton Kincaid, and I think that he can be pretty much Eric Bieniemy's Travis Kelce in that Washington offense, a guy you can split out wide, play in the slot, receiving tight end all over. And the Washington GM as well, when we look at tendencies, not a team or not a guy that cares about like age, RAS, premium positions, all of that. So a wild card pick like this would make sense. Now, who do I have the Colts taking? You're a little bit drunk. I'll go back to the top. Just do a little bit of a refresher for anybody that's sort of trickling in here late. But we have Young, Anderson, Gonzalez, Stroud to the Colts, Tyree Wilson, A-Rich to the Lions, Witherspoon to the Raiders, Bijan to the Falcons, Paris Johnson to the Bears, Carter to the Eagles, and you can kind of see the rest. Now, at 17th, the Steelers need to tackle really bad. And they could sit here and reach on Anton Harrison. That'd be the next guy that I'd have off the board. I think that could happen. But I also think that they could take a defensive back, whether that's safety, whether that's corner. I think they have like Patrick Peterson and maybe Cam Sutton or Levi Wallace, just not very good cornerbacks on that team. And if the tackles are thin, I think that they could just wait until their Chase Claypool pick, and they could just take whoever's there between DeJuan Jones, the kid out of even North Dakota State. There's a bunch of tackle options at 32nd overall that are pretty much just as good as Anton Harrison. So I'm going to sit here. I think the edge rushers are also, again, these edge rushers I think fell a little bit here, and it might end up burning me when this mock gets submitted. But we're gonna go a little bit weird here, but we're gonna go Brian Branch, wherever he may be on this list. Oh, he's right here at third. Now the thing with Brian Branch and the thing with the Steelers, Mike Tomlin's old school. They aren't a team that historically like cares a ton about like RAS or premium positions and stuff. We've seen them take like Terrell Edmonds in the first round. We've seen them take Devin Bush in the first round. They just take playmakers, and I think that they're now. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. Do we think Minkah Fitzpatrick being there makes the Steelers want to draft Brian Branch more or less? Because Minkah Fitzpatrick didn't play in the slot. Brian Branch this past year predominantly played out of the slot at Alabama, one of the best tackling slot corners there is, one of the best playmaking corners there is out of the slot, can play in the nickel, can get inside the box. I just think when we think about the Steelers and their identity, if you have Minkah Fitzpatrick, causing havoc as kind of your ball hawk back there, like why not bring in Brian Branch, also an Alabama guy, can create some kind of synergy with Minkah Fitzpatrick and cause havoc out of like the nickel slot corner spot and just have a defense that flies all over the place. You got TJ Watt causing pressure. I think it makes some sense. So we're going to go Brian Branch there, but that's not one that I am super, super confident about. Now, after that, in this scenario where the Lions pass on Witherspoon and they take Richardson, I think they make up for it by taking a corner at 18. So we're going to give them Emmanuel Forbes, which is kind of a weird corner. Someone that's like been a late riser in the process, but he's a 170-pound corner, but he flies. His relative athletic score is still 9+. I believe he's like man corner. He had like 3 pick sixes last fall, so he has a lot going for him. I could see it. I could see them taking corner. If you want to take Deonte Banks here, if you want to take Joey Porter Jr. here, you can go ahead. But I think Emmanuel Forbes makes some sense to the Lions. Now, Buccaneers fans are going to troll me. I think a lot of them want Anton Harrison here. I think a lot of them think this is going to be Anton Harrison. And I don't necessarily disagree, man. But I had 5 years of Todd Bowles. I know Todd Bowles. He loves his pass rushers. We've used picks on Jordan Carter. I think was his name. Or no, Jordan Jenkins. We've used picks on Leonard Williams up front before with premium picks. He also doesn't care. He's a guy who I remember for the longest time when he was the Jets head coach, they were taking defensive players every single year first round. They took Leonard Williams. They took Jamal Adams 6th overall. They took Darren Lee, linebacker who busted all over the place out of Ohio State. Pause if needed. They took somebody else that I can't think of either. But they would also take him like the second round, like Marcus May out of Florida, and they would load up on defense. Of course, the offense is bad, but at this point, Todd Bowles, I can't imagine Todd Bowles staring down Nolan Smith, Myles Murphy, and Lucas Van Ness and not actually licking his chops for whichever one. Now, I can't tell you which one he would like, but my lean here is Lucas Van Ness for this reason. Lucas Van Ness is a versatile, 270-pounder. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. They drafted 2 years ago Joe Tryon. I think he might have changed his name, but Joe Tryon I think is his name. They have Shaq Barrett on the other side. Who knows how much longer Shaq Barrett will be there? He's getting a little bit older. Why not get another guy who you can just kick inside next to Vita Vea, get after the passer. You can kick him outside. You can rotate things. You can kind of have cool stunts and blitzes like Todd Bowles likes to do. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think Bucs fans would not agree with me there. Now, yeah. A little bit of an AO there. A little bit of It's Ron Stewart after dark. Okay, this is what you guys signed up for. Okay, we're talking mock draft at midnight. Things happen. I'm sorry for that. If any of you guys are watching with your children, that was not great. Now, 20th overall, we have the Seahawks here. They already took defensive line. They went out there and they grabbed Tyree Wilson. Now, I do think Osiris Torrance is on their minds here. I do. But we're going to go Zay Flowers. He is the guy that makes so much sense because I think that somebody kind of brought it up. It might have been Josh Norris again, but I think that he was talking through Zay Flowers of being a dynamic playmaker that the Seahawks would like the same way that they like Dwayne Eskridge. And with Zay Flowers, you have a guy who can make plays after the catch, something that Metcalf doesn't really do, something that Lockett doesn't really do, and give you a third option in the passing game to take more pressure off of Geno. So I think Flowers makes a ton of sense. They're one of the teams that wouldn't care that he's like older, doesn't have a great production profile, and all of that. Now, 21st overall, we have Jordan Addison, and I have been shoehorning this pick in since I did my first mock. And there's some sort of connection. I think Hayden Winks brought it up, and I'm just down to ride with this Jordan Addison pick. Jordan Addison, he committed at first to Maryland, a wide receiver coach from Maryland, then went to Pitt. Jordan Addison decommits, goes to Pitt. Then that coach goes to the NFL with the Chargers. Jordan Addison transfers to USC, and now that wide receiver coach that he has essentially followed for his early career in college is now with the Chargers, and they need a wide receiver. So why not go Jordan Addison? Now, after that is where we see Nolan Smith come off the board. Now, I know a lot of Ravens fans think, this will be wide receiver. I think that they'll say it'll be cornerback. And I think that Deonte Banks makes some sense, but I think that he slips a little bit here. And the Ravens haven't had any pass rush really since Matthew Judon left. And I think it would just be such a Raiders pick to take Nolan Smith here. He's on the older side. He can come in, start right away, and get you some pass rush. Now, after that, we have Minnesota, who I think also wants a wide receiver, but at the same time, they are a Moneyball ran front office. They have a guy who came over from the Browns who was like pretty much Sashi's like protege, and I think Sashi Brown was his name, maybe not Sashi Brown, but Sashi, he worked as the front office for the Browns, and he was kind of the spearhead for like analytics in football and in front offices and stuff. So he takes a lot of that with him. This is going to be a premium position. It's going to be a player that is really athletic, and Deonte Banks checks all of those boxes. He has like a 10 perfect RAS, and the Vikings have nothing at corner. Patrick Peterson is gone. They got nothing. Like, I can't even think of the next cornerback on their team. Now, after that, we have the Jaguars, and we had a little bit of news break from John Shipley, the beat reporter over with the Jaguars. John Shipley, or Will Shipley, Will Shipley is the running back out of Clemson, but John Shipley, he said Cam Robinson could be getting suspended, or is probably going to get suspended. Their tackle, they lost their other tackle, Jawan Taylor, to the Chiefs, I believe. So they need offensive line help. This could be Osiris Torrance, center/guard, but I think that they go Anton Harrison here. They get a tackle. He can play either side. It'll be him. I think it'll be the kid out of BYU, maybe Walker Little. Maybe he's out of Stanford. I don't know. He's one of those two. He's a West Coast kid. Boom. That's what we're doing there. Now, at 25th, I think this is where we see Joey Porter go to the Giants. This could be wide receiver. I don't think it will be, right? They signed a million slot receivers. They have Darren Waller. I think this is Joey Porter Jr. He is the perfect press man corner for Wink Martindale's scheme, where when you have heavy blitzing, you need corners that can back you up. They haven't really had that. So I think Joey Porter comes in there. He can start right away. Boom. Ready to go. You're telling me the Vikings got good corners? I forgot that they got Byron Murphy, but that's like a slot corner. You need somebody. They need somebody on the outside who can kind of do his thing. Next up, Cowboys. Here, we're going to take Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. I think this is the absolute furthest he could slide. If he goes earlier than this, it really wouldn't shock me, but I think this is the furthest he'd slide. I think he is perfect for the Cowboys. He could come in, be the exact guy that they left or that they lost in Dalton Schultz. He can block better than Dalton Schultz. He can be just as good as Dalton Schultz, be an instant, weapon for Dak Prescott. That doesn't take away from, Gallup, Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, guys that they've invested a ton of resources into. Next up, we have the Bills, and we're going to take Quentin Johnston here. Quentin Johnston to the Bills. This is a guy where the Bills need a guy who can just make offense himself. Gabriel Davis is a field stretcher, possession, contested guy, and Diggs is a possession, receiver that can get open at all three levels of the field. They need a guy that you can get the ball to and let him create, make his own offense. That's what Quentin Johnston is for this team, and this is a team that's probably like a piece or two away, from being like Super Bowl type guys. I mean, they're of course already contenders, but their offense did stall a little bit last year. I don't think that they take a running back. I think Damian Pierce is exactly what they want, or Damian Harris is exactly what they want in terms of a between the tackles rusher, grinder that can be efficient. Now, this one's a little bit of a weird pick for the Bengals, but this is a name who's been floated out there as a potential first-round pick. A little bit against the grain here, but we're going to go Matthew Bergeron. Swing tackle out of Syracuse. He's getting some late buzz here. And I think when we look at the Bengals, they have Joe Burrow. They want to protect Joe Burrow. Of course, they brought in Orlando Brown Jr., but La'el Collins is coming off an ACL. Jonah Williams requested a trade. They got nothing going on at right tackle. Matthew Bergeron can play either side. I think he fits there very nicely. Next up, we have 29. We have the Saints here. And a player that I think they might trade up for him, but this is a Mickey Loomis guy full on. He is relative athletic score guy, but he's like old. He's going to be like just shy of 24. But they need defensive line help bad. They might trade up for him, but I think this is going to be Will McDonald here. Then we have at 30, and all of you guys that are here on the channel, on the Ron Stewart channel, the Ron Stewart After Hours, After Dark edition here, make sure you leave a like. And also, we have something that I think a lot of you fantasy guys would really like. At 30th overall, we take Jahmyr Gibbs for the Eagles. I think it would make sense for the Eagles to take Gibbs. My guess with Jahmyr Gibbs with the Eagles is I don't think the Eagles would want to take Gibbs or a running back in round one. I think that they would be very against taking a running back in round one. But there has been buzz that the Eagles like Jahmyr Gibbs. There's been buzz that he would go first round. And with the Eagles, I just think that they can talk themselves into it. There's no other good wide receivers on the board. They could use a third option, not named Quez Watkins, but they can get Jahmyr Gibbs, who can run routes out of the slot, who can run routes out wide, who can be a pass catching back out of the backfield. You can do like all kinds of things where you can like you can come out and like single back with like a tight end hand in his dirt, and you can motion Jahmyr Gibbs out wide, come back into shotgun, and then boom, you're running 11 personnel versus a base defense, and you have a really nice mismatch there. Now, look, guys, I'm a numbers guy, but you guys know me. I know a thing or two about a thing or two when it comes to the NFL. Then our last pick here is one you can kind of do whatever you want with. Maybe they take a tackle, maybe they take an edge. Like I could see it being Felix Duke Izoma, but we're gonna take Myles Murphy, a guy who probably slipped a little bit too far in this mock draft. And he is a what do you want to call it? A mystery box type of prospect. Let's actually zoom out a little bit here so you guys can see what the board looks like in its entirety. Boom. That is our official 2023 mock draft. Put it in ink. We're coming for back-to-back rings, back-to-back championships. But that Myles Murphy pick, it just makes sense. Like they need another pass rusher. They need another big fella up front on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe they attack wide receiver in the second round or something, but I do think, they probably take Myles Murphy. They probably take the other guy who was available, Felix Duke or whatever. I think it would make sense. Drop a like, everyone. We are witnessing the most accurate 2023 mock there is. Look, we had that thrown in 2022. We'll see if we can get it in 2023, but I appreciate all you guys coming out here. Feel free, leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy it. It's a little bit late here, or else I would hang out with you guys, but it's 1:30 a.m. I appreciate all you guys coming out here. Like this was dude, we got 80 people in here watching me do a mock draft at midnight. I truly do love you guys. You guys are the best. This is the best time of the year. I poured my soul out in the beginning, saying how much I love the NFL draft. I have, ever since I posted that video with like the 6 running backs earlier today, I have just been mining away at this mock draft. So it might be all for nothing, but we'll see what ends up happening tomorrow when all the cards are laid out. Now, I will say, I hate to say it, I know a lot of you guys have asked, like, Ron, are you going to be doing a live stream for the NFL draft? I'm not. I just think there's so many people doing that content. Like, there's so many people doing streams. I just don't know why you would tune into mine. Like, I know the Underdog guys are going to have theirs. I know Overzet and those guys are going to have theirs. So if I ever get invited onto, one of, like, the big wigs NFL draft coverage, maybe I'll go there. But in terms of just, like, hosting one myself and being just, like, a solo guy on stream during the NFL draft, probably not. So I'll probably stream on like Saturday and just kind of talk through things. I think that there should be I I think that's going to be when the Best Ball Mania 4 drops. So we'll probably do a Best Ball Mania draft, talk through some rookies, and then Monday, pedal to the metal, full draft. Or actually, no, Friday we'll have a video where I'll talk through my top 10 lessons learned from the first round. So that'll be really fun. Now, that is going to do it for us today. Again, I love you guys. Drop a like. You guys absolutely killed this live stream. I said it earlier. I was expecting like 10 to 15 people in here. So you guys are the best. I'm going to get some sleep. This is the official 2023 mock draft for me. After having an amazing year last year, this is probably where we break it. So with that being said, I will see y'all in the next one.